Okay, now we come to the forearms. Okay, probably two of the most neglected areas while training in strength and conditioning: calves and forearms. And if we look at most sports, boxing, name it, cricket, hockey, what do you hold with? What do you hold the stick with? Where do you produce that last bit in the whole kinetic chain when you're producing power? Where does it come from? Strong wrist. Okay, so an often neglected area, not trained much by people, but can really have good dividends if you use this. So looking at forearm training now, there are sort of three main actions that can be done: wrist extension, wrist flexion to work the flexors, okay, and then we're looking at elbow extension. Now elbow extension, we would be doing bicep curls, and we've seen, so there you do get some amount of work, for your brachioradialis, okay. So it does work this part, but wrist, the end part, if it's a table tennis player who wants to hit a backhand and goes snap, this snap, if it's from a forehand, if it's a tennis player as well, who has that little bit at the end coming from the wrist. So many sports, you need strong forearms, and they definitely play a strong role in majority of sports which specifically need equipment, okay. Anything which requires you to hold something, the forearms do play a role. So now two moves that come in. If you have this machine, good for you. If you don't have this machine, you can do it with dumbbells. But if you have this, okay, work on the extensors and flexors. A good practice is to start with extensors. Now, why extensors? Because extensors are weaker than flexors. If I have to give you a weight which is too heavy and ask you to, lift it with your extensors in extension, you'd find it harder, right? But at the same time, if you have to do something which is in flexion, you'd be able to take a lot more load with that same action, right? So we start with extension, and a good practice to have is start with extension, finish with extension. So there's this standard sort of balance between the muscles that the weaker ones are trained more. Okay, an often made mistake is that the stronger muscle is trained more because it's stronger. You can lift more weights, right? So a lot of people tend to do that. So make sure that you start off with extension and then finish with extension again. So just to show you a combination, you can have this grip, okay? Have a grip which should not hurt you. That's the important part. You can move your elbow slightly out if you wish, and from here, okay, you go up, down, up, down. Now important that the movement should be done with your wrist, okay. Now as you can see, my elbow is locked and fixed as much as possible. I'm keeping my elbow stiff and locked, not much movement here. Now what happens, check the other way. It looks like I'm moving, but it's not, okay. So the action, you want to get it from here into extension, and you let go of the weight. Extension against resistance, let go of the weight. Extension against resistance, let go of the weight. Don't let the weight be so heavy that you're forced to use your elbows and you do this. Then you're not really working at the wrist joint, you're working at the elbow joint, okay. So we need to be very careful about this so that you're lifting weight exactly for what's required, okay. In general, don't go too heavy with extension. It is a delicate muscle, okay. You don't want to also put your wrist at any form of risk. So as you're using it, make sure the elbow stays fixed, wrist gets into extension, flexion, extension, flexion. So again, to show you, before we move on to flexion, from here, down, tight, up, tight, up, tight, up, up. Now how do we do flexion, okay? You get here. In this, you can keep your elbow slightly closer to get a slightly greater range. From here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice a lot of actions, okay, whether it's with a hockey stick, whether it's with a badminton racket, tennis, there's a lot of finishing that happens from here in most forehand shots, okay? Up, down, right? Now if you want, depending, do try this, but keep a check. You can strengthen your fingers by allowing it to roll down as well, and then curl up. Roll down, curl. When you curl up, check your thumb position. Make sure the thumb doesn't go down, but rather here, and come up. Okay, so if you're rolling it down on your fingers, don't do only this. You don't want your wrist to be getting strong only in one range. It's up, Again, though this is a forearm exercise, try staying active in your core so that your core is active in this. Okay. So hope these two exercises have helped to understand. And if I'm going to do a set, third one it ends with is extension again. 1, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. So same movement, 1, 2, 1. Keep this ratio, maybe a 2:1 ratio. Okay, 2 sets of this, 1 set of this. So if you're doing a total of maybe 6 extension sets of extension and 3 of flexion, or maybe even a 2:3. So that means you go 2 for flexion and 3 of extension. So mainly the idea is to make sure that you do more extension than flexion. Okay, the same rule applies with tricep and bicep. And you should be knowing that the bicep, why is it called a bicep? Bicep, 2 heads. Tricep, 3 heads. Okay, and when you're doing the same with triceps, make sure there's always more work for the tricep and slightly lesser for the bicep. Here, though this is bigger, why we want to train this slightly more? Because sport does have a bit of this at the end in most, that stretch reflex that you want coming snap from a punch, okay, or from a shot. Okay, you want to make sure that this muscle is strong enough to handle that. Okay, so that's the reason why we always do more extension than flexion, and adding this in your strength training routine becomes paramount for those sports, especially where equipment is used. Thank you.